back to another episode of Coder Conversations. This is Kevin, TC, and we have our special guest, TJ McCarty, CEO of Native Notify. How you doing, TJ?
Good. Glad to be on the show.
Oh yeah, man, we're definitely glad to have you here. Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about your story?
Yeah. So I have kind of a random uh, story. I got out of high school not really knowing what I wanted to do, and so I was really involved in my church growing up, and I liked ministry. The first place I went to was a Bible school. I went there for worship leadership. I like to play the guitar and sing, and so I did that first. I did that for about a year, and then I graduated from a Bible school, and then I kind of just wandered around for a few years. I got interested in film, and I went to a film school for a while and worked in film for a little bit, and then after that, I got married during that time,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, and so I figured I needed to get a real job and can pay the
Right.
bill.
Yeah.
Um, and so around that time, I've been starting businesses the whole time, and one of the businesses actually worked out enough to where I could like kind of stop everything and go learn how to code from like a coding boot camp.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took my family to a coding boot camp and in Utah called Dev Mountain, and I learned to code there, and I got a job shortly after. I've been a full stack. That was about 3 years ago. I've been a full
Okay.
stack developer since then, and then I started my own company again about a year ago. I was working part time on it, and then January of this year, I went full time with the business.
Okay. Yeah, it's a pretty big transition going from like Bible school to film, and then eventually to starting your own company. So, like,
Yeah.
what kind of made you want to get into film?
So I loved watching movies growing up, and I loved acting and I in plays and things like that. And I was always making funny movies with like
Hmm.
short movies on YouTube and things like that with my brother and friends. And so I just thought it'd be really fun, and so I that was what got me into it.
Okay.
But I was able to make like around $30,000 a year.
Wow.
So it wasn't. I didn't make it. I didn't make enough to provide for a family. So that's why I had to
Right.
get out of that.
So I noticed you said you kind of were like starting businesses all along the way. What gave you that entrepreneurial mindset?
So I think it's kind of like in my blood. My dad was an entrepreneur. I don't know if you know this. Have you ever heard of the spiral gumball machine where there's like gum at the top? You can put a quarter
Hmm.
in. It spins
Yeah.
around. So he was the first one to come out with that
Oh wow.
product. So he
That's
sold that.
crazy.
Yeah, he sold that in 13 different countries and all states of the U.S. And he did that in his 20s, and he started uh, four multi-million-dollar companies in his 20s,
Wow.
and he started a fifth one in his 30s, and so I just grew up around it, and so it's
Hmm.
just always been. I can't help it. I feel like it's almost a sickness because
Right.
it's really hard. Like it's hard to start a company, especially one that's successful. Somehow my dad, like back to back to back, was able to over a 15-year stretch just
Oh wow.
start companies that were successful.
Now, do you think that that his first success in the let's say after the second one, do you think it just became a habit for him to just build successful companies? Like he just had a formula down?
Yeah, I personally think what he got really good at is if he could find he's such a great salesman. Any sales job he's ever had, he's
Yeah.
always gotten to the top of the company. And so if he could find a product that he could successfully sell that and make like well, if he could find a product he could successfully sell, he could start his own company selling that product. he started out of high school selling vending machines with somebody he had met, and that's sort of how he got into. He started with like candy machines, then Coke machines, and then somebody he knew wanted to show him his Viper car. It's I think they don't make them anymore, but he wanted to show him his Viper. And while he was at the guy's house, he turned and saw the first ever spiral gumball machine in that guy's garage. He's like, "What is that?" And he's like, "Oh, that's just something I threw together. It's not. I only got like a few of them." But he's like, "Tell me about that. I can sell that." And so yeah, that one became so big. He went from like zero to over $1 million a month in revenue in like 14 months, and
Wow.
it was just it was a hit. It was like he was able to sell it for like $3,000 a machine too, and that's kind of a big deal. Like it's a lot of vending machines are like under $1,000. He was able to successfully sell it for $3,000, and so there's like a lot of room in there to hire salespeople and still have some profit left over.
So did he have the patent to that, like the whole design and because I like growing up, I remember seeing those type of machines, but they didn't always have gumballs. They had like toys and some other type of stuff inside of it as well, right?
Yeah, sometimes they do that. His friend was the one who owned the patent. He got the rights to sell it, so his company was the first to sell it, and he got them everywhere. But yeah, as far as a habit from there, it was just in him. It's always been in him. He started from 19. He convinced some investor to let him flip houses for him, and so he's just always been a hustler. Since he was in 6th grade, he's like had his own businesses. His first company, he sold cinnamon toothpicks. Like the first time he realized he could make money was he wanted a dirt bike he asked his dad to buy him one. He's like, "I'm not going to buy you one, but if you saved up the money and made the money, you could buy one." So that was the first time he thought about how could I make money, and he just threw together. He heard of cinnamon toothpicks. He woke up early in the morning. He borrowed some money from his sister who was older. Woke up early in the morning and would put together cinnamon toothpicks, and then he would go sell them for $0.25 each at his school. And he got enough to buy the $200 dirt bike and a helmet too. So anyway, but he's been doing businesses ever since. So.
Did your dad like intentionally expose you to the business? Like, was he trying to kind of raise an entrepreneurial spirit?
Yeah, he did. And it was just a natural thing. It was just a part of our lives. So I was just naturally around it a lot. And he ended up writing a book that hasn't come out yet, but it might be coming out soon. But I read the book and it had a big impact on me. And it's basically in business. Well, in the Bible, there's a difference between riches and wealth. If you read scriptures about riches, it's like stuff, like nice things. Whereas wealth is like an income producing asset of some kind, some sort of thing that generates ongoing revenue, like land. It talks like farmland in the Bible is like wealth because it constantly generating revenue. So his whole point is like he had to learn a lot of this the hard way, but you really should be focused on, if you're wanting to start a business, focus on generating wealth. So you should be trying to start businesses that can generate ongoing revenue, not just like single sales and then they're gone.
Yeah.
To create some sort of product where maybe they'll pay monthly or yearly for the service or something like that. So, and that's part of what got me to think Native Notify could be a good business idea, because it can be a monthly recurring revenue business. So
go ahead, Terrence. Yeah. So, what were some of the bigger lessons that he taught you that you still use today?
So that focus on the income producing asset, that's like a huge thing.
Hmm.
It's a massive. So for him, when he first got out and started flipping houses, he got addicted to flipping houses, like buying a house, flipping it, making $10,000, $15,000 right away at 19. He's like loving that. Well, along the way, he also bought up some apartments that were generating like a solid $3,000 to $5,000 a month in revenue.
Mm.
But that wasn't exciting to him. He loved the flipping. And so there ended up being a down market, like all the
Hmm.
prices started dropping. And like he had all these houses that he just couldn't sell. What he
Mm.
should have done is he should have gotten rid of the houses that he wanted to flip and keep the apartments, because that was continuing to generate revenue. But he did the opposite. He just got rid of the apartments and kept the
Uh,
houses, and then he lost everything. He ended up losing everything.
Mm.
And so he kind of went through that over and over and over again through his 20s. All his businesses, um, it's like there was a time, they were all like one-time hit businesses, like even
Mm.
the spiral gumball machine. Like if he could have gone back, one of the things he may have done differently is he should have started a gumball manufacturing plant and say, if you buy my machine, you got to be buying the gumballs from us or something like that.
Mm.
So he could be making money off the gumballs today still, but instead the he basically sold it everywhere you possibly could sell it, and then people just stopped buying it, and that company went under. And he did that with a toy company, and then which the toy company was actually kind of successful, but it took some time for him to learn that. So for me, that's a huge lesson I always
Mm.
learn is I don't even want to waste my time trying to start a company where it's like I'm selling maybe a product where they buy it once and you're hopeful that they'll buy it again. Always like I don't even waste my time with that. I always
Mm.
try to start a company where I can make a monthly or a yearly recurring revenue stream, because that's wealth. That's something that once you build it up to a point, it'll last. And so that's always been a huge, one of the biggest things I've learned from him. So
yeah, can you tell me a little bit about, was it Native Notify or Notify Native? I forget what.
yeah, it's nativenotify.com. So I started that. I can't believe it was like a year ago. August of last year is when it went live, and it looks so bad. It's just embarrassing how
Yeah.
bad it looks. But so I was building an app for a client that I was working with using the Expo framework, which is built on top of React Native. And I was surprised to find I could not find a push notification service on the market for the Expo framework specifically. All the services I found made you do what's called eject out of Expo, to basically get out of Expo and be just using React Native again.
Yeah.
Um, so so anyway, I just ended up building one myself, so users can stay inside of Expo. They don't have to leave Expo. It's called Managed Workflow. And I just went live with that to see if I could get any paying customers. And I got enough traction by January to where I felt comfortable quitting my job and just
Mm.
focusing on it full time. And it's been growing slowly, but steady, but slowly. But it's been the revenue's been growing pretty well. But it's one of those things. It's like, man, I was just thinking the other day, like, man, you'll never value even like a $50,000 a year job more than
Mm.
if you try to start a business that's
Yeah.
profitable enough to be able to pay somebody $50,000 a year. Like it's
Yeah.
hard. Like it's very
Yeah.
hard to just get any winner at all. You can be like trying for 20 years, and that's why I was like, I feel like it's almost like a disease a little bit, because if you're a good developer, you can make six figures and
Mm.
have a comfortable job. but it's like if there's this drive in you to start something, it's like you can't help yourself, and you just keep starting things until something finally works out. And it's like when something actually does work out, then you're especially hooked. Like, okay, something worked out one time. I can just I just keep trying and trying and trying. Eventually, something's gonna work out. But it's not easy. You definitely it takes a lot of dedication and hard work and just faith. Like you have to have so much faith
Right.
that
Yeah.
this can be something. This can work one day.
Exactly.
So
Did you start it by yourself or did you have like a small team? Okay.
I started it by myself. So I had a super basic Just Expo push notification service, just to see. I had a minimum viable product just to see if I could get any users at all. And I figured out how to get users, and I expanded. I created a lot more services, specific messaging services for the Expo framework. Then when I went full time, I wanted to see if I could expand outside of just Expo,
Mhm.
and so I went ahead and built a Flutter solution
Okay.
for the Flutter language, and also just traditional React Native. So now I have a solution for React Native, Expo, and Flutter, and there's a lot of additional features I've added to each of those languages. And right now I'm working to expand into web push notifications, Android native push notifications, and iOS native push notifications. Um, with those five languages, I'm estimating I'm around 90% of the market of developers
Mhm.
interested in push notifications. And so, but yeah, it's just all been me and doing everything. So designing everything, building everything, marketing everything. I've been mainly focused on YouTube. That's where I get
Mhm.
most of my users. So that, and I've
Okay.
done YouTube in the past, and so that's what I've kind of comfortable with. So
So is YouTube where you got like most of your customers or?
yeah, it is.
Okay.
Our my Google search engine optimization efforts is just now starting to pay off
Mm.
a bit. So I am starting to get some from Google too, but by far most of the results have been from YouTube. Which is, I something interesting is like YouTube is a huge blind spot for a lot of tech companies. I've found
Mhm.
it's like a lot of tech companies act like it doesn't even exist, but it's like the second largest search engine in the world, and
Yep.
you can get you can get a
Yeah.
lot of good results and traction, and you can be building a community along the way too.
Mhm.
So that's that. I don't know any investors or anything like that. Like I wish I was one of those people who like I have an idea. I just raised $1 to $5 million to
Yeah.
start my store. But no, I like had to bootstrap everything, and so anyway, I tried out Google Ads first. They're so expensive, and
Mm.
in this market, but YouTube is very reasonable, and so like I've actually been able to create. I got about 3,200 subscribers now on YouTube, and the community's building there. And the thought is like, if I ever run out of money, I'll at least have my subscribers on YouTube. I can keep marketing to organically.
Mhm.
So I won't have nothing in the end. So it's another one of those. In my mind, the wealth versus riches thing. Like, if you're focused on Google Ads, you're focused
Mhm.
on like one-time hits.
Okay.
If you're focused on building a community on like YouTube or Facebook or anywhere else, LinkedIn, something like
Mhm.
that, all your marketing efforts have the added benefit of creating a community of followers that might buy your products in the future. So I'm almost like, I have very, very tiny little bit into Google Ads, but the vast majority is just directed towards YouTube because I feel like has the long term benefit of building a community that can generate additional revenue in the future.
Do
So,
you oh go ahead.
no. It's just a quick question. So let's where do you see your service going after you've capitalized 90% of the market? Because I'm trying to think of like with normal SaaS, right? Software as a service, right? You have a platform, it covers a certain market, and you can add features onto it. But then with notifications, how far do you see your platform going? Like,
So one of the good things about push notifications is it's such an essential service for app developers specifically. So it's like there's around like 25 million app developers in the world, and
yeah,
it's still growing like about 17% a year. And so like I could, if it really took off one day, I mean, they could have millions of users.
yeah,
And I'm wanting to eventually expand outside of just push notifications to maybe have like build a chat bubble for a lot of our users are e-commerce users and
yeah,
um, just other essential messaging solutions that might be valuable for like e-commerce app type apps and stuff like that. And um, just focus first on building out some basic push notification services, and then I have like I start out with like a push notification service where you can send notifications to all your users at once, and then
mhm,
I'll add in the feature where it makes it real simple to send it to individual users. So like one user at a time, and then
yeah.
like groups of users. And so like each one of those takes time
Okay,
to build out, and so
yeah, yeah. I see
that's
where you're
kind of the
going.
goal. That's the where it's
Yeah.
heading. So
Okay, cool. I'm interested in seeing where that's going to go. Yeah, because it sounds like you're building out. There's a service called Klaviyo, and now you're talking. They do something similar where they have you can you can build campaigns essentially, and so you have these users, and these users are segmented by certain attributes, depending on like like not the lifetime. What's the word I'm looking for? Like when the user signed up for your mailing list or whatever, and like the different attributes like purchase types and stuff like that in the past. Um, yeah, and so you can really drill down to like a really like really pinpoint the user that you want to target and send that push notification to or email to.
mhm.
So it sounds like that's the direction that you're thinking about going instead of
Yeah,
just emailing everybody at once.
yeah, that is a specific future goal of ours that I've had is I would like to eventually have an automated service where you can kind of maybe like even an AI powered one where they can keep track of users' buying patterns and then send specific notifications to individuals based on what they've bought in the past and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So
Okay.
yeah, a lot of different things I'd love to do, and so I'm hoping. Basically, my goal right now is I'm hoping I get to the point where I get enough traction to where investors would be interested in investing in the company. But until then, I'll just be bootstrapping, and that's something I've learned too. Like, if you want to start a business, just count on not being able to raise money. Like, just expect to have to build something and create traction all on your own. Even if it doesn't seem fair, it's just the way it is. And
Just the way it
you
is. Yeah.
yeah, you just and if you think about it, like especially as a developer, you can make a decent income, and it's so
Mhm.
easy to create a minimum viable product as a developer, like a full stack developer,
Yeah.
that maybe it's kind of reasonable for investors to expect you to have something up there with some users before they'll even think about investing. But it's just one of those things you have to be determined to do it, and uh, so but yeah, that's the goal right now.
Since you don't have any fixed income coming in, you have to like be very careful about how you spend your money.
Yes, yeah, and so that's another thing. It's kind of I think it can kind of be an advantage because I heard the one of the guys on Shark Tank. He said he has a theory that money makes you stupid, and like people with a lot of money just blow money
Mm.
without even thinking about it and start trying to start a startup. Whereas somebody that is just bootstrapping, like will really think about, will this actually generate any results? And once they start spending the money, they'll actually be tracking, is this actually generating results or not? And it does cause you to really focus on revenue. You actually have to generate revenue or you will die. You
Mhm.
can't just have like millions of dollars investors in the bank that you can just be going like I've come in contact with people who have raised millions of dollars, and they'll go like years without going live with a product or generating any revenue. And when they do go live with the product, they're surprised that people don't use their product. They spent 2 years building something that nobody wants. I listened to advice from an accelerator called Y Combinator. I don't know if
Mhm.
you guys have ever heard of them, but
I
one of
have.
their big things is they invested in companies like Airbnb and Dropbox and people like Stripe, stuff like that. Well, one of their big things is just go live as fast as humanly possible. There's a useful lie that you think you're going to build something that people want, but then you're going to go live and realize it's not what people want, and you're going to have to talk to your users and build what they want. But they're like, you should think in terms of weeks, not months or years. Like you should be live with something in like 6 weeks. Like it needs to just get
Yeah.
something. You should be embarrassed of what you put up there. But if it actually solves a real problem, then people
Mhm.
will use it anyway. And so that's the advice I followed. I put something up that looks so bad, but it was a real need because there wasn't another solution out there. So people used my service, and then everybody, my users politely would say, "Hey, would you like me to help with your design? I could just help redesign your website." I'm like, "It's okay." But I finally, like, after a few months of that, and I'm like, "Okay, I'll take some time to make it look decent," and so I made it look better at that point. But up to then, I was just talking to them about the features they wanted and would add in the features that they asked for until it became something that a good bit of people liked. So loved. Like that's another thing. They say instead of trying to build something a lot of people just like a little bit, try to focus on making something 100 people love, absolutely love.
Yeah.
Um, and if you can do that, the odds are it'll be a lot easier to expand from there to scale to get a lot more users. So they say start on a really simple problem that is a real problem. Uh, get it live, try to get some users, track their usage rates, and just talk to them until ask them what they want until you have something at least 100 people love, and then you can build from there. So um, I don't know what the point of all that was. I just rambling now, but
Yeah. But you're on the the right mindset. It's like you have to focus on a part of a get your product out there as soon as possible, right? Don't let it marinate. Don't like stew on it for months and months thinking that you're building something awesome, and then when you put it out there, let's say 20% of it everybody likes, and then the other 80% that you thought that everybody was gonna like, they don't. It doesn't click with users, right? And then you're
yeah,
like, oh well, I wasted all this time deving out all this other stuff. Now I have to either scrap it or I don't know, feature flag it or whatever have you. Just
yeah,
get a minimum product out there, and then users are going to request like, hey, it'd be cool if I could do this, or hey, it'd be cool if I could do that, or have you ever thought about doing this? Yeah.
right. And it just organically happens. So like the one thing I did right when I went live with just all you could do is send push notifications to all your users. That's literally
Yeah.
all you can do within Expo. And
Yeah.
I put a little question mark on every page that if you clicked on, you could see my email address. And I would just say, if you have any questions or thoughts at all, just email me.
Yeah.
I'll directly respond within a day. Um, and users would just start reaching out asking for specific things. Like one of the first requests was, can you have a receipt feature where I can see how many people are actually receiving my push notifications or not? And so that was one of the first things I built. Another one was, I would like to send push notifications to individuals, not just everybody. And then it just went on from there. And another great thing about building a community, focusing on building a community with your marketing, like on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn or something like that, is in the comment section, whenever you post a video, they can immediately say you can ask in the video, be like, can you please, we really value your opinion. Please let us know in the comments. If you liked it, what you would change about it. We really want to know. We value your opinion. We want to build what you want.
Yeah.
And so if you focus on just one small feature that is a real need, get it out there, they'll just organically reach out to you and ask for new features. And you can just build exactly what they want. And instead of wasting 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, trying to build everything you think everyone would want, and it's like just gigantic waste of time. And that's one of the dangers of having like millions of dollars in the bank. You can actually go 3 years building something without any revenue, no users thinking that you're doing a good job, and then you go live and you find out, oh my gosh, nobody likes my product. What did I do? And so like you can, if you're bootstrapped, you can kind of jump ahead of the competition. Even if they have millions of dollars in the bank, you can still beat them just by going live and actually talking to users and actually building what they really want, is what you think they want.
Yeah.
So like you said, like YouTube was extremely important in terms of marketing. But how do you grow your YouTube? What are some of the strategies you use there?
So there's some strategy. Some is just whenever you're searching for terms on YouTube, you'll notice like it'll pop down underneath what people are specifically searching. So if you specifically title your videos based on the top results and the search results, it's a lot easier to get to the top of results on YouTube than it is on like Google. You like Google, it's almost like they don't value the title at all unless you have all these sites linking to it. YouTube, a lot of times, if there's not a video with the exact title, it'll sometimes appear in the first 5 results right away. So that's one way. And constantly, there's a way you can link back and forth between your videos. So constantly in your videos mention, and I talk more about this in this video. So if you'd like to check it out, you can check out this video right here. And then asking users to subscribe and like, because if people subscribe, like, comment, the YouTube algorithms will like the video more and show it higher up. So those are some tips.
Do you, when you release new features, do you send out a push notification to users when you release a new feature, or do you release a new video?
So I just release a new video. I sometimes will release an email to all the users because I collect their email when they sign up. But that's one of the things I should do better about. But I'm just like, I feel like I'm keeping my head above water all the time. And so like, I just throw up another video on YouTube and let them know that way. And anytime there's a new feature too, in on the website, I'll have like a little tag that says new, like on the sidebar or something like that. So they'll know to click and see that there's a new feature. So that's another thing I'll do. Another thing that I want to do, like my next notification feature I'm building is a web push notification service. And I want to add that to nativenotify.com too, so I can just send notifications that way. And I've created another feature called a notification inbox, which is sort of like a, you know how like on Facebook or LinkedIn, there's like a notification bell. Basically, I've got that for Expo, where you can have a bell that you could click on and see the notifications sent. So I should add that to Native Notify. I just haven't done that yet, but that's something I need to do that I've heard is a really good idea, to add some sort of thing so users know, wow, they're creating new stuff all the time. So, but they will notice, like if you build a community, I have users have just in the comments said, wow, you're a hard worker. They just, lots of users have actually just said that because they can see,
Yeah.
wow, he's pumping out new stuff all the time.
Do you ever see? Well, let me think about how I'm gonna ask this question. Well, this is mostly for like open source software, but I'm gonna try and twist it for this scenario. So let's say like you build a platform, you build a service. Do you ever see yourself sort of letting it go? I guess you could say like one day you're just like I don't want to do this anymore. I'm just gonna let it just become antiquated. Expo releases something else, or React Native releases a new version and it breaks the service, and you say at the end of 2024, this service is going away, and just letting it do its thing. Do you ever see yourself sort of letting it go?
I don't personally with Native Notify currently, because it's actually at the point to where it could be default alive revenue wise. So
Yeah.
I would have to get a job one day, but it could always the way it's designed it's designed to exist without me. So like I could stop working on it completely and it would still work. It would still be generating revenue. It would still get new users. And so that's a big thing too that my dad taught me too, is you don't want to build yourself a job. Basically, if you're building yourself a job like a business where you have to be there,
Yeah.
that's not a real business. You're starting a job. You're creating a job for yourself. You want to eventually build a business where it can live without you. That's the ultimate goal. So that's one of the great things about software-based products is it can live without you if you just design it that way to run on its own without you having to do anything long term. Yeah.
So yeah, I know there's like immense complexity with you being the sole entrepreneur. How do you manage all of that complexity? You have to do the marketing, programming, etc.
So I honestly think it maybe God just helped over the past 12 years since I got out of high school. I literally just kind of randomly just pursued different interests, and those interests just all happened to be great to know to build like a tech company. So like I just would just randomly on my own, I'd make YouTube videos with friends and stuff like that, start a YouTube channel. I'd randomly get into film, randomly would start website based business. I'd come out with a product that I'd want to sell, try to sell it online. And so then I'd have to learn marketing to know how to sell that, because I don't know anybody with money or anything, any investors or anything like that. So I would just kind of have to figure it all out on my own. I would just do it on the side. And a book actually that helped me a lot, it's called The 4-Hour Work Week. I don't know if you've heard of that book before, but it kind of gives you a process for thinking of ideas and how to market those ideas. And so I read that book too. That had a huge impact on me too. And that gave you a process for starting new companies. And one of the big things in that book is it's all against it's really the launch fast concept. It's like it teaches you, don't spend any time building until you verify that people actually want what you have to sell. And so like his name's Timothy Ferris. His way to he suggests you do that is put up a website with the product you want to sell, even if you haven't sold it yet, with like a buy now button. And when they click the buy now button, say, sorry, we're still working on getting this product live, but we'll get back to you when it is live. You can give us your email right here, though, and we'll email you when the product's live or something like that. And then you can just track how many times users click the buy now button and how much money you spent on ads, on like Google ads and things like that. And then that can let you know, okay, I can expect if I spend this much, I can expect to get this many sales from this product because this many people click the buy now button. And so then, only then do you go on to build the product. So I did that a few times. I personally, though, I've updated it a little bit. I hate the idea of like wasting money on ads without a product live. So I'll always try to have some minimum viable product that I could sell right away, and so that I can just go ahead and test out if they want to buy it right away. But that doesn't work for every product. Like a lot of products are a lot more complicated, but you'd be surprised. Like the first business I had that actually kind of worked out, it was a good side income. It was called Laptop for Writers. I was writing books at the time, and I wanted I heard a lot of authors saying they're so distracted by social media that they only have like an hour to write in the mornings before work, but they end up checking their social media during that hour, and so they don't end up ever finishing a book. And so my thought was, what if I created a computer where it's literally impossible to log on to social media while you're writing your book? So I'm thinking of this grand product, but I'm just thinking I couldn't do that right now. So I literally just I went ahead and put up some ads and said I could just figure it out if anybody bought it. And so I put up ads, and I priced the product at like $299.
Oh, wow.
As if it was real. And I actually got some sales. And I just figured, oh my gosh. So I just ran to Walmart and I just got some laptops, and I just set parental guide locks on the laptops that made it to where you can't browse the internet. And then I sent it to them with their password to get in, and they loved it.
Wow.
So like even a hardware product, I was able to figure out how to get something, and so that never really generated enough income to be a full-time income or anything. But I sold like 1 to 3 laptops a month, basically for a couple of years, and then I moved on to other things. But
Hey, Yannick, do you have any questions for TJ?
Hey, TJ. Yeah,
hey,
I actually have a couple. As far as I know, I missed the tech stack portion. Can you tell me about the tech stack, what you used to build the whole platform?
yeah, so for Native Notify, I started out using React Native Expo because you can use that language to build a website and an Android and iOS app all in one. So you write the code once, and then it can become everything. But as I was developing it, I realized there's like it's better to kind of use React for a website and Expo just for the apps because of some styling related things. And so I just started developing it as if it was a React website, and it's almost like a bit of a mess. I wish I would have just started with React, but everything works fine and it works great. And one day I plan on going back and just making it all React. But yeah, I use React, Expo, Node.js on the back end, and Postgres as my database. So that's what I use for that. I've used a lot of other tech over the years too, but that's what I use for Native Notify.
Yeah, I haven't. I actually just had like my first exposure to React, and I like it. It's pretty cool. I'm more familiar with Angular, but React That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you're like doing all of this by yourself right now. Like, at what point do you think that you will start, building a team out? I mean, maybe it's when you get funding, or maybe when traffic becomes grows to a certain level. But you can't do it all by yourself forever, right? So, at what point do you think you'll be able to like build out a team around this to
So
take it?
whenever,
To the next level?
yeah, the my goal is to get enough traction to get investors interested in the company. Once I raise enough money, I have talked to some developers that I trust that I've worked with in the past. That there's one in particular that made it sound like he would actually come on board. And there's two others that I know are good developers that I would want to bring on board too. I would love to do that right now if I could. I don't have any investors. I've just been bootstrapping, and it's like it's so hard for me to even try to take the time like to devote like a few months or something to raise money or something like that when I'm just thinking, gosh, I could build so much in a few months. Like I might as well just spend those few months building stuff. And but eventually I'm gonna have to stop and just actually talk to investors. But even though I don't really know how to do that. I don't know anybody, so but I but anyway, yeah, I'm eventually I will have to do that. Like I already, if I had a team, I could do so much more, so much faster. But I'm hoping I should in the next 6 months have the the basic push notification services that I want to have finished, and hopefully there should be enough traction at that point to devote some time to trying to raise some money at that point. And so
Right.
that's hopefully 6 months or so I can start raising some money.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you seem quite like you seem very entrepreneurial. I mean, you probably had a few businesses that failed uh,
Yes.
on the way here. Um, so, have you ever considered those like startup accelerators? Have you ever considered doing something like that?
Yes. I don't know if you've ever heard of Y Combinator. So I apply to them every batch. So I've been applying to them every batch for like a couple of years now. And I actually got an interview
Mm.
like 2 batches ago, which apparently only like the top 5% of applicants get an interview. So,
Wow.
and if you get an interview, there's like a 1 out of 4 chance you'll get in. So I
Okay.
didn't get in, but I'm still my traction today is looks way better than what it did uh, 2 batches ago, which is like almost a year ago now that I did apply there. Um, so I'm hopeful I can get into that. Basically, my that's like the one thing I've been just trying to get into, and then I've just been focusing on uh, making my company better, increasing user count, retention rate, revenue. And I'm hopeful that eventually they'll just want to let me in because I know by far that would be the best organization to get into, and and I'd have to just start all over trying to get into other. But yes, I've tried to get into them. They're the most responsive too. It's like I've tried other accelerators too, but a lot of times they don't even respond and they don't give any details. And so, but yeah, I have tried. I think accelerators are a good starting point, especially if you don't know anybody, because they make it so easy to just apply. Anybody can apply. Um, and I have actually gotten a response from Y Combinator, like an
Mm.
interview. Um, so I do think that's a great starting point for entrepreneurs that don't know anybody. But you should expect to have to create something and get a decent amount of traction before they'll even want to interview you, most likely. So
So, do you ever have anybody in the community reach out and try to help you? Because, like with this podcast, a lot of the people that come on, they're actually from the community. They've watched the episode and say, "Hey, we want to help you out."
I have had some of my users reach out to see if I would like some help with the design specifically. That was
Mm,
back when everything looked so bad. But since I made everything look decent, I haven't had too many anybody really reach out from that point. But yeah, I I could definitely do more with some help for sure. I have specific plans of what I would like to accomplish, but
like, would
just
you be open to kind of like mentoring junior developers? Say, hey, I want to work for you. You don't have to pay me. I just look at this as a kind of internship. Like, would you be kind of open to mentoring that developer?
yeah, actually, I mean, I if you are looking for an internship, I could actually use the help a lot. And if you
Nice.
do know React, Node.js, Postgres, any of those, I could actually get you up to speed, and that actually could I could use that actually. I figured about myself when I got out of coding boot camp, out of Dev Mountain. There's like a 6 month. It took me about 6 months to find a job. So,
Mm,
uh, if you are a developer listening right now and you just got out of a coding boot camp and maybe you'll get a job right away, but there's a good chance it could take 6 months to a year before you could get a job. And if you do have an internship on your resume without a gap in your resume, you are a lot more likely to actually get a job.
mm.
And
Yep.
if you did help me, you would get very valuable information. You'd be building complicated things. So I've never thought of that actually. That's a good idea. Maybe someone will reach out. So,
Terrence, wasn't an internship like key for you getting your current job?
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, uh, so I was sort of like working full time, and I had like a small internship uh, at as outside of work that I was working on, and they taught me like React and GraphQL and a bunch of other like super cutting edge type of tech. But it was tough. It was tough juggling both. But yeah, like after like 6 to 8 months, like I finally like uh, got a this new gig that I'm at now, and it was really helpful. Like looking at their code, I just like cracked open the code base now at my current job, and it's pretty similar to what I've been doing for the past like 8 months. And like I'm blessed to say like that fear of like going from a coding boot camp or like going from like working on a pet project or something into like actual professional work. Uh, it's almost as if I was just doing professional work for the past 6 months and I didn't even know it, you know? So yeah, internships are like super, super handy if they're teaching the right stuff. Like that can carry over into like the professional world. Yeah, yeah.
So,
That's it. Go ahead.
oh yeah. So like, I know faith is a really strong part of who you are. Like, how do you maintain your faith? Especially with the way the world is going.
yeah. So one of the things I just decided to do on LinkedIn was just be very open about my faith that I'm a Christian, and
Hmm.
you know, I've just over the past couple of years, it's like the world has become so wicked, and um, I feel like courage is contagious,
Hmm.
and it just takes a few people willing to just be kind and open about their faith and just be like. And I've been surprised. I've seen like on
Like,
LinkedIn, a lot of people are just being coming out, being open about their faith,
hmm.
and being kind about it, and not. Uh, and I think it's such a positive, good thing for the world. Like I personally love LinkedIn in that like it's such a positive place compared to
Hmm.
other
Yeah.
places. And I think because employers could be looking at everything you post, it causes you to be restrained, and you don't want to sound like a crazy person on there. So like it it helped me personally a lot. Like I would have a tendency sometimes to sound a little bit like a crazy person on like Facebook or something like that. I had to stop myself. Like I had to just because like the world wants to draw you into all the drama, and I just
Hmm.
get out. But with LinkedIn, it's just been a lot easier to just share thoughts on just business thoughts, and then just also just share scriptures every once in a while, and just be open, and I've noticed it does have an effect on other people. Others will start sharing their faith and be more open,
Hmm.
um, and so yeah, it is the most important part of my life. I love Jesus with all my heart, and I would be lost without him. I tried to live life without him for a little bit, and it was awful. It was terrible, and so he's so important. Like nothing else matters, and I don't know where I'd be today without him. And I don't. I was reading in the Bible recently in Second Corinthians. I think it's chapter 5 on how you know part of why we should share our faith and be open is just fear of the Lord. The Bible says one day we're going to stand in that passage, chapter 4 and 5. One day
Hmm.
we're going to stand before Christ and give an account of all our works that we did, whether good or bad. And he said, uh, those of us who have been saved, who put their trust in Jesus, we should, be, because of the fear of the Lord, we should be compelled to share our faith with others. Because
Hmm.
one day you're going to have to stand before Christ, and you're going to have to tell him. Because as a Christian, you believe there's only two places that you can go, either heaven or
Right.
hell.
Hmm.
Uh, you should, out of love, it talks about being controlled by the love of Christ. You shouldn't want people to go to hell. You should want people to go to heaven. And
Yeah.
Jesus asked you, did you try to save anybody? Did you try to make sure anybody went to heaven? And so, did you fulfill the Great Commission? And so, yeah, it is a big part of my life, and I love Jesus. I love sharing my faith. I share my faith all throughout
Hmm.
my life, and he's blessed me since I've really been devoted to him. Before I was devoted to him, I was broke and I was not qualified. So God's really blessed me, and
So do you feel like once you like got into your faith, the blessings started to flow, like doors started to open?
yes, for sure. And it came from so like once I devoted my life to Christ, I about a year later I found my wife, and
Mm.
she loved the Lord, and after that I forgot to mention I became a youth pastor for about a year after that. But yeah, that door opened. Before then, so I became a youth pastor. The After that, there was like a rough patch financially, but I stayed faithful to Christ, and eventually one of those businesses worked out, and I was able to take the little bit I had and learn to code, thinking that could be a good career
Hmm.
choice. And yeah, and since then, God's really blessed us, and I've been grateful for everything. And so yeah, I do feel like that. I do think too. Like one of the things is like He didn't allow that to happen until I had like the love of the world more out of me.
Hmm.
So like the Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. It doesn't say money; it does say the love of money. But like if
Right.
you have the love of the pride of life, the lust of the eyes, of the flesh, of life, then God might not want to bless you because He loves you and He doesn't want you to
Hmm.
fall into sin. But if you truly get to the point where He's the center of your life, I think it is just a natural thing. He does want to bless His children, as long as that doesn't cause them to worship money or
Right.
gold or anything. But He does like to bless His children.
Yeah, I think God definitely gives us the blessings when we're ready for it and not before, because sometimes that material wealth, it can take us in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So like how do you stay like centered and not get drawn out, drawn up by the money and the other things?
So a big thing is make sure to read my Bible every day, and I read my Bible with my family almost every day now, and always be going to church each week. A huge thing since um, the job I got ended up being in Florida, and it's in this tiny town in Florida. I never would have expected to live here, but gosh, there's this church where the Spirit is just it's he's so present at that church like
Hmm.
every week, and that has been such a huge part of my life. Just actually finding a church where um, the Bible talks about don't quench the Holy Spirit, and it's so refreshing to go to a place where the Holy Spirit is allowed to to be free, and it's not just a form of godliness; it has power, and so that's a big part of.
Hmm.
And they've really just a good church that there's a lot of churches out there that like they do. Uh, there is a lot of love of the world in the church, and they make it seem like a Christian life is a good Christian life is one where you have lots of money and lots of worldly happiness. But
Hmm.
like our pastor a couple weeks ago was just talking about how, in the Old Testament when God saved the Israelites from Egypt, He had them bring offerings to Moses, and it wasn't so that he could give them back a bunch of stuff, worldly stuff. It was so that they could build a temple, and he said, "I'll put my presence there. I'll be there with you
Hmm.
in the midst of you," and uh, and so. Uh, just finding a good church that truly loves Jesus, and wants you to draw closer to God, and um, not isn't a church that's putting the love of the world in you, but is putting the love of Jesus in you. And that's such a huge thing. Because if you're weekly going to a family of believers where you're being encouraged to obey Christ and share your faith with others, and love God and don't love this world,
Hmm.
that is such a huge thing. So
So it sounds like community has like a very huge effect, a very huge influence on like even your thinking and
yeah,
just how you feel every day.
yes, it does. Yeah, it is really. It's so important. It's and the right kind of church in Hebrews it talks about don't neglect the gathering together of the saints. It talks about make sure you're gathering together to encourage one another to
Hmm.
good works and to obey Christ. And so that's the right kind of church to seek out is one that's always pushing you, that you can get friends who are pushing you to stay on the narrow path, because
Hmm.
the Bible says only a few find the narrow path that leads to life, but broad is the path that leads to destruction. And like it's just such a broad path. Like it's so broad that there's Jesus said one day many will come to me calling me Lord, and I'll say, depart from me, I never knew
Yeah.
you. And it's just so easy to get on the broad path. You can even think you're a Christian and
Mm.
but not even care about the things of God. All you care about is worldly pleasure, and you're not even. But you think you're you think Jesus is your Lord, but you don't try
Hmm.
to obey Him at all. So
Right.
my daughter's coming in to say hi.
Oh, yeah. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah. Can you go back? So, I'm sorry. Can you go back to Mama? But it's about her bedtime. But, so
So yes, it definitely sounds like the friends that are around you, they're very important because they can either pull you in the right direction or the wrong direction.
right.
So how do you kind of like cultivate your group of friends? How do you make sure that you're in the right circle?
So one of the things I've learned recently too is the Bible says if you want friends, you should show yourself friendly. So
Mm.
it's easy even just to go to a church and not be friendly, not go out of your way to be friendly. And so one of the things we've been doing lately is when we find a good Christian couple at church, we actually have been going out of our way to invite them over to our house or to offer to go hang out sometime as a family, and that's been a huge life giving experience. Like it's easy to get depressed and sad when you
Mhm.
don't have any friends and or family close by, and so it's been a huge. It's increased our joy a lot, just reaching out, being friendly to people, and going out of our way personally to invite them over to our house or go inviting them out somewhere, or offering to bring dinner over to their house and hang out.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I know, especially as a developer, it can get really lonely, you can get isolated. So, developing that community is extremely important.
mhm.
So you kind of said like you reached out and you invite them to your house. How important is it being like proactive in maintaining these relationships?
It's super important. It's like so important. I think there's like a proverb about how a foolish one isolates himself, a foolish person isolates himself. Like if you're isolated, it's just so easy to get depressed and sad all the time. And it's such it's such a good thing when you do um, reach out and make sure at least like on a monthly basis or something, once or twice a month, go out of your way to hang out with a family, a Christian family outside of
Mhm.
church. It's such a life giving thing. It's like and especially we've been able to find families that are our age with kids too, and so we're able to really encourage each other. And developing that has led to us. We'll be texting each other throughout the week too about life and encouraging one another too. And so that's been such a big blessing.
Yes,
So, TJ,
something. Oh, go
uh,
ahead.
no, no, go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like me and Terrence, like on the show, we often talk about things like the metaverse and social media and how they kind of draw people into this like isolated world. Um, yeah, what do you feel like? What do you feel about this whole thing, the metaverse, etc.?
Yeah. Uh, I don't like the metaverse personally. I like, I saw this video where it was like called Icelandiverse or something like that. There's this guy in Iceland and he's like, I'm here to introduce you to Icelandiverse. And he's touching water. He's like, this is called water. It, you can feel it with your hands in real life. It's not even on a screen. Um, so I don't know. Maybe I'm a funny daddy, old funny daddy. But yeah, I think I've actually been getting away from social media a lot, other than like LinkedIn, uh, because it's a positive place and I just share positive things. But I'm hardly ever on like Facebook anymore, personally. So I think it is. It's one of those weird things. I'm in tech, like I feel like I'm helping create this world, but
Yeah.
but at the same, so I have mixed feelings about it. I do think it can be, it's very useful, and especially if Christians, like we were talking about, are open about their faith online. It can be a great way to spread the gospel. Like I've been able
Mm.
to talk to people about the Lord online a lot, and um, I've been able to talk to people all over the world about Christ. Like when I was used to teach English to Chinese students, uh, it's a lot of lessons would be about Christmas because Christmas is actually really big in China. Um,
Mm.
and so it was just always a great opportunity. I was like, have you ever heard the real story of Christmas? And so many Chinese students have never once heard the name of Jesus, and his name is Yesu in Chinese. And so have you ever heard of Yesu? And so many, not a single time have they ever heard his name.
Mm.
And so I probably told 100 Chinese students about Jesus because of technology, that
Oh
may have
wow.
never heard his name a single time in their life, if it weren't for it. So I see it as a great tool for evangelism. there's also a lot of danger in it though too, and that
Right.
but it's like with anything, you can get addicted to anything, and it can ruin your life. But there's also everything with moderation, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Yannick and Terrence, did y'all have any questions? I don't want to hog the interview.
I actually have a question about like the potential of native notified, like from the industry standpoint. I might have missed this earlier, but like tell me about the well. First of all, why was this the one that stuck for you, right? Because serial entrepreneur,
Yeah.
you've done
So
different things, so
yeah. So this is it just stuck because I was building an app using the Expo framework, and I was surprised to find I could not find a push notification service specifically for the Expo framework. All the services I found made you eject out of Expo, so you had to basically come out of Expo and just use traditional React Native, vanilla React Native. And I hated that. I wanted to stay in Expo. And so I just built my own service where you could stay in Expo and manage workflow. What got me to stick was honestly just putting it up and see a very basic product, see if I could get any paying users, specifically paying users. And I was. And so that's what got me to, okay, there's something here. I'm actually getting paying users and active users with the free plan. And so it'd be worth pursuing. So like with any type of idea that pops in my head, I try not to. I'll try to just create something as basic as I can, throw it up as fast as I can, make sure it actually solves a real problem, and then start investing in some advertising, and maybe don't even spend more than $500 on ads, $1,000 on ads. Just see if you can get any sales at all, like even just one. And if you can, then you know it's worth pursuing. If nobody likes the product, nobody even signs up, nobody uses the product, then even if you love it, you just should let it die and move on. So what got me to stick with this is people like the product. They genuinely love the product too. It's kind of special in that it's so simple to set up. Like there's I come up developers are reaching out to me all the time just saying this is so simple to integrate. Thank you so much. We've been looking so long for something and we can't figure out how to use anything. But you can literally copy, paste code, and it works. That's all you have to do. So that's what got me to stick with it. Just it was actually having real traction.
yeah. On the note about developers reaching out and saying it's so simple and that there's nothing out there. Uh, I don't know for sure. You're the market expert. You're the subject matter expert here. So there isn't any major players doing this already. There aren't any.
So about like 6 to 7 months after mine went live, there was like one other that I know of that's like the biggest one out there that went live with their own version. Uh, but I'm not 100. So I'm starting now to get some competitors is the answer, but mine's still better than theirs because I had a head start and I've been just focused on it. And whereas for them, it's not their main source of revenue. They didn't even build it in house. They hired an outside firm to build it for them, and so it's just so for me, I'm talking to users and making it unique and specifically what they want, not what everybody else has done. And so that's and so anyway, yeah, that's the state of it now.
So, talking about competitors, do you ever get a free trial of the competitor's product and check it out and see what they're doing, and then try to integrate their features into your products as well?
Yeah, so I don't know if this is the right thing to do, but I intentionally kept myself in a bubble. I
Mm.
uh, I didn't want any outside influence like coming between me and my users. Like I just built something I knew people would want, and then I just started talking to the users, asking specifically what exactly would they like. me to build. And I didn't even look at it, how anybody else designed their documentation or anything like that. I just that's something I'm good at personally, is just having super clear, easy, simple documentation, like a step-by-step process you can follow. And so like I just made it. I've intentionally been blind to how the competition does it, because I wanted an original product that didn't feel like I was copying everybody else.
That's smart.
So,
That's smart.
but I don't know if that's the best thing to do. Maybe it's good to look at the competition, what they're doing sometimes. But I don't know.
I think there's somewhat of a blueprint that you can follow, but there are always cases where, um, some things that work for you might not work for the other company, right?
Mhm.
So I do have a question, and I don't know the timeline from time you thought about this to I don't know how long you've been working on this. Has it been better during COVID, or has it been worse, or did you see more traction during COVID? Did COVID impact you in any way from a user standpoint?
So I would think it probably helped, just because so many businesses are wanting to get a presence online now, because they realize, oh my gosh, the government might shut down my business at any time. I should probably have a presence online in some form. But yeah, I'm not. I got started almost a year ago now, so like August of last year is when the first version went live. And so it was kind of like it was still kind of in COVID, but I'm not sure how much of an impact it had, other than I heard there's like industries kind of growing a lot since COVID.
Yeah, it definitely is. What so as far as the type of businesses you target, I know almost there's probably a wide variety, but maybe when you started, what were the businesses that you wanted to target more than some others?
So that is actually a good question. So sort of this goes along with the question of why did you land here. I actually started out, I thought this would be a boring company and I didn't want to do it. I just had the idea. I told my dad about it, and he what kind of got me to decide is he came to me later and he said, I was praying about that idea. I really think there could be something there. Like, I just feel like there might be something there. You might should pursue that. I was actually working on a different startup at the time, um, but I just couldn't get this out of my head. And I'm like, I know people will want this. People are going to want this because there's not a solution out there. And if I don't build it right now, there's probably going to be others are going to eventually build a solution, and you could be the first one to the market. And it was just too good of an opportunity to turn down. So I just stopped what I was working on, and I went live with this to see if I could get any customers. And I was able to get some. So that's what got me to land on it. But yeah, I was built working on other things. I have an idea for how to create a clean internet, like a new internet. Um,
Web
that's
four,
what I was building at the time. But
Web 4.0.
yes, yeah. uh, but yeah, that would take a lot more work. I still would love to do that one day, but that would probably actually take a real investment, a team, and everything to build.
Maybe this can be like the stepping stone towards that goal.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that it is.
So yeah, what are some of the notable names you've come across in the tech industry?
What can you? What do you mean?
Like, say for example, have you met like any prominent developers, software developers, or
Yeah, I've met some founders of companies. That's been really neat to meet some founders. I've mainly met them through LinkedIn. Just reaching out, asking questions, asking for help, and things like that. But yeah, that's kind of the LinkedIn is a great place to
Mhm.
connect with entrepreneurs and coders and developers. And so
Was it kind of intimidating reaching out to them? Like, did you think like, oh, maybe they're gonna just ignore me or curse
yeah,
me
it
out?
was. It always is. Yeah, I feel awkward. I don't know what to say, but that's another thing as an entrepreneur. You just have to not worry about feeling awkward and see. Like I always feel like I'm being this annoying person by reaching out to people, but I just do it anyway. And some people just don't get back to me at all. Some do. So
Yeah, I found out it's never as bad as you think. Like, either they ignore you or they go along with you or politely decline. It's not like they're gonna curse you out or
yeah. Mm,
Yeah. Worst thing they could say is no.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the worst thing they could say. You just got to reach out.
Yeah. Exactly.
Same with applying for a job. The worst thing they could say is no or reject you. And at that point, it's not a no. It's just,
Yeah.
they just ignore you.
Hmm.
Do you have a link? Do you have a presence on Twitter?
I don't, not really. I have a native notified Twitter account, but I don't ever use it. I tried for a while, but I think Elon Musk might be right. I think a lot of people on there might be bots, and
Hmm.
I'm basing this off my advertising efforts there. Uh, it's abnormally ineffective. Like Twitter,
Mm.
I've tried different platforms. Twitter is abnormally not effective at advertising, which you would think that it would be because you can specifically target people that like or follow certain groups and stuff. But the results are really bad, like terrible. In my, they've been terrible, and so like I've kind of just gone back to YouTube. I feel like I only have time for YouTube and a little bit on LinkedIn, and I'm hardly ever on. I'm not really on Twitter anymore, honestly. So
So I know you've written a couple of, you've written some books and some films. What kind of books or films did you create?
yeah, so I wrote two fiction books, and one was like a dystopian future. One was just like a supernatural thriller novel, and that's this is one of those situations where it's not good to just throw up something.
Yeah.
You should probably hire an editor to make sure there's not too many typos. Like you can get an editor now for like $500 to $1,000 that'll do a decent job. But I didn't have any money at the time, so I just threw something up, and it was kind of embarrassing. But the other book I went out with was a nonfiction book. It's called "Happy Are the Poor," and it's just the scripture on Jesus said, "Blessed are the poor, blessed are the poor in spirit." And another, that word "blessed" can also mean happy. And just talking about how you can find joy in um, living a simpler life and not of being content. Like the Bible talks about, godliness with contentment is great gain.
Hmm.
I found the times where I was the happiest was when I was content with what God gave me, and thankful for what He gave me, and just focused on honestly telling people about Jesus. That's when I've been
Hmm.
just doing his work, and that's when I've found the most fulfillment in life. And I found the least fulfillment in life when I was been focused on this world, like
Hmm.
increasing in worldly
Right.
goods and things like that, because it's like you're never going to have enough.
Yeah.
It feels like anyway. It's better to just be content and do everything as unto the Lord. And if you do that, you're going to be working hard, and you're going to just naturally increase at your job. If you're just disciplined hard worker working as unto the Lord, you're gonna be getting raises or promotions and things like that along
Hmm.
the way.
Yeah, something that like me and Terrence talk about a lot is like once you start, in the tech industry, your salary can jump up fast, but you don't want to just go out and spend it. You don't want your standard of living to just jump up, like because you're going to be in
Yeah.
that exact same spot.
Hmm. Yeah.
So,
It's not. No,
oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was just gonna say it's not a requirement to get a flashy car. If you land a 6-figure job or you land a high 5-figure job, like you don't gotta go out and get a new car and you know and all this other flashy stuff. It just doesn't. The two don't. They don't. You can have one without the other. Especially
Hmm.
if your car works or if you have a whole roof over your head, there's no need to go out and get a flashy house or whatever. It just doesn't. The FOMO doesn't exist. Like you're not missing out on anything
Mm,
Yeah.
besides a higher bill.
yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, like that. A lot of people don't realize it, but the Bible has a lot of advice that's not only spiritual but practical. Like you chasing after all these material goods, like you mentioned, it's not going to make you any happier. You're going to get that little burst of happiness, and then it's going to come back down. And
Hmm.
it's easy to get addicted to spending and buying to cover up what's inside.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I find so much practical advice in the Bible that has been so helpful in everyday life too.
Hmm.
So
Like, do you find any of that applies to like your coding career and how you interact with people?
yeah, it definitely does, and it helps me to whenever I'm focused on the right things, it, everything else tends to go better, and
Hmm.
so yeah.
So I kind of, and I keep pounding on these business questions. I kind of want to come back to Native Notify, right? Um, you know, you're not big on social media. Um, you're also doing it by yourself. Uh, Now I know there's an aspect of it where like you have faith, but there's also like an aspect of it where like there's action, right? Um, do you think that you're doing enough at this moment, right now? Even if you're trying to grind out the next feature right now, do you think that there could be more that you could be doing? Because from where I'm sitting, seems as though you're sitting on something pretty awesome. And I'd just asking the hard questions here. I'd hate to see that this doesn't get to its full potential, um, because you know maybe some things that are obvious weren't taken care of, weren't done. Like social media, right? Social media is like a great place to just like get the word out there. Uh, you know, like the idea about getting maybe a junior developer or two to work on your product as an internship. That's something great. That's something you can simply put out there on social media. There's a lot of junior developers like myself that would just um, jump at that opportunity. So I mean, do you think that you could be doing more in this moment, or are you just in a phase where you think, all right, I just need to focus on these features that I'm building, and then I'll focus on that later? Because sometimes it's important to to to, to approach the problem or this, the goal that you're trying to reach from different angles.
Hmm. I
Okay.
think that's actually a really great idea that I've never thought of before. Honestly, like the idea of offering internships to developers, because there are. I could. I have so much I want to build that I just have to. I'm trying to do what I think is the most important thing uh, next. But yeah, I'm gonna actually be thinking about that a lot. Like I could actually, if any interns wanted to help out, I could definitely use the help. I don't have, I couldn't pay you or
Mm.
anything like that. But if you wanted something on your resume, like you just got out of a coding boot camp or something like that, and you want to keep something on your resume to be more likely to be hired. Uh, I could definitely use the help. And if I ever did raise money, which I hope to raise money within the next 6 months or so. Maybe if you did a good enough job, I might could hire you on full time one day, but that's not. But yeah, that's I I'm I do think that is a really great idea. That I could get a lot more done with some help. And I never thought of maybe having interns help. So that is a huge thing that I am going to be considering doing. As far as social media, I consider kind of YouTube sort of like social media because I'll message back and forth in the comment section with users a lot, and a lot of users. I have my email on all the pages of Native Notify, so like I keep up with a lot of users by email too sometimes, and um, I think I could maybe be doing more there, but I'm I don't know that there's that much more I could be doing based on my current knowledge. Like I know YouTube pretty well. I don't know like Twitter well. I know a lot of people have success on Twitter. I know they're not all bots, but like I don't. I've never really been big on Twitter or anything, but that is a. I do have a presence there, and I do post videos there. So anyway, I am so sorry, but I have to wrap this up. Is there like one
Yeah.
more question or something, or
No, I think this is a good ending point. We usually finish at an hour and 30 minutes. Yannick or Terrence, did y'all have anything? I think
No. Thank you for coming on, TJ. Really appreciate
thank
it.
you guys so much.
Really-
This was a lot of fun.
If,
Yeah.
if somebody wants to reach out to you for the mentoring thing, how do they do that?
TJ at nativenotify.com. You could just email me and I'll get back to you. I use React on the front end, Node.js on the back end, and Postgres as the database. So if you know any of those things, I would love to see your resume, what you've done, and possibly get you on to help out. So
Awesome. We'll put the word out there for sure.
thank you. Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for showing up. You have a good
All
one.
right. Thank you.
Thanks, TJ.
All right. See ya.
Bye bye.
But